Okay guys, so this is going to be the blood vessels below the diaphragm. So here's our reference, here's our diaphragm, separating the thoracic cavity from the abdominal cavity. So we want to look at is, now all the organs are still attached or intact in the abdominal cavity. Here's our greater omentum. What I've done is I have actually cut the large intestines right down here where it enters into the anal canal, and I'm just going to flip the organs back. So we're going to see the thoracic cavity or the descending aorta as it comes down right here. Here's our diaphragm. So it pierces through the diaphragm. Here's the piercing right there, okay? And so the diaphragm enters into the abdominal cavity. The first branch, as we enter into the abdominal cavity, which is this one, this would be your celiac trunk. And again, the trunk means it's going to be short, and there's going to be branches coming off of this. There's 3 main branches coming off of the celiac trunk. You're not required to know them, but just for reference, there's going to be a branch to the liver, which is going to be your hepatic artery. There's going to be a branch to the spleen, which is going to be your splenic artery, and then there's going to be a small branch to the mesenteric, right, which is going to be blood, blood to the mesenteric. Okay. The next branch, which is this one, oops, let me get that out of the way. Oops, sometimes they just don't break quite that easy. The next branch, right there, okay. This would be your superior mesentery. You see it's a larger branch. This comes, and I'm going to open it up so you can see here is our mesentery of the intestinal system. So it brings the blood supply to the mesentery. The next branch that we want to be looking for is the adrenolumbar branch. So here's our kidney. So usually our adrenal gland would be sitting up here. You can actually see it. I'm going to flip back over here. On this kidney, I haven't removed the adrenal gland, so it's still there. So this is what it would look like. But you can see the adrenolumbar branch a little bit easier here coming off of the aorta, because it's going to have a branch coming to the adrenal gland and a branch coming back to the lumbar region of the back. As we continue down, the next branch that we're going to see is going to be your renal artery. Again, this would be your left kidney. So this would be your left renal artery coming to the kidney. Now, it's much smaller, and you can see the renal vein. So we'll get back to the veins in a minute. Okay. As we continue down, the next blood vessel that we want to look for is the gonadal artery. Okay, so this is a female. Okay, so let me put her back the way it was. This little structure that you can see right there kind of looks like a pea-sized structure. That's the ovary. So we want to be looking for a blood vessel that comes to the ovary. Okay, so you can see if I spread it out, it's going to be this blood vessel coming here, and you can see where it attaches to the aorta. Here is the pair on the other side, which is going to come to the other ovary. And you can see the little ovary right there. You can see the connection. Okay. As we continue down, the next branch off of the aorta that you want to look for, and there's a lot of tissue down here, guys. There's nerves running through here. There's connective tissue. But this is the next branch you want to look for. This is called the iliolumbar branch, okay? Because it's going to bring blood to the iliac bone and the lumbar region. At the end of the aorta, we're going to see a split. This is going to give rise to the iliac artery. So in cats, right, we don't have a common iliac artery. We only have an external iliac and an internal iliac. And again, don't forget your left and right. So this would be the left external iliac artery. This would be the left internal iliac artery. The iliac artery is going to continue right about here. You see how we convert from the abdominal cavity into the leg? This is where the inguinal canal would be. I'm going to show you on the other side. I've left the inguinal canal intact. And so you can see that the iliac artery and vein work through the inguinal canal, and then they convert into the femoral artery and vein. Okay. You can see that the vein is much larger than the artery. As we continue on, the femoral artery is going to go right almost to about where the knee is, and then it's going to plunge in, and it's going to work its way back behind the leg. So I'm going to show you. Let me flip the cat. See if you can see it here. Okay, so this is the back of the knee. This is that sciatic nerve that you learned in the last practical, but if you can see right here, back behind the knee, those would be your popliteal artery and your popliteal vein. Blue would be the vein, red would be the popliteal artery, and then they're going to go down and they're going to branch into the vessels of the leg. Okay. So let me go back up here. Those are the arteries. Now let's look at the venous system. Okay, so the first structure that you need to identify is the inferior vena cava, which is the largest of all the blue vessels. The vena cava actually pierces the, actually it doesn't pierce. What it does is it travels up to the liver. From the liver, right? The liver sits right below the diaphragm, and you can see how it feeds up to become the inferior vena cava that feeds into the heart. Okay? The inferior vena cava, what you need to identify, the first branch off of the inferior vena cava would be your the adrenolumbar, and you can see I broke that blood vessel, but you can see that it would touch right here, and it runs parallel to the adrenal lumbar artery. The next blood vessel is here's our inferior vena cava. I'm sorry. Here's our inferior vena cava. So this one is your left renal artery. This guy coming off right here, off of your left renal artery, this is your left gonadal. This is where arteries and veins differ. The left gonadal comes off of the renal vein. The right gonadal, which I think is it still intact? It is not intact. Okay, so it would come to the ovary, and it actually has been cut. Okay, so it would be, I think it's somewhere in here, but it's not. But it would be around the same place. And let me see if I can find the branch. Oh, it would be this one right here. You see that little cut right there? That would be your gonadal, and it would be coming off to the right where the ovary would be. So the ovary would be over here. Okay, so from the gonadal, we continue working our way down. Right? And now you're looking for the iliolumbar veins. And so they run, again, we're the same place where we have the iliolumbar artery. For the venous system, here we do have, and let's see if I can move the arterial system here. Okay. For the iliac, we do have, let me get the other side. Okay. Okay. For the iliac veins, we do have a common iliac, because where it branches, we have the common iliac, and then we have a branch going in. The inside one would be your internal iliac vein. The outside one would continue on as the external iliac. So we have common, internal, external iliac vein. As it moves through the inguinal canal, it becomes the femoral vein. You've got that branch right there. That would be your deep femoral, which plunges deep into the femoral region. And then the same way we saw with the arteries, it's going to continue on. It's going to plunge into the back of the knee, and then you're going to see the popliteal vein in the back of the knee. Okay. One structure that I want to show you, and it's not too clear to see, is the hepatic portal system. Now remember, when the mesenteric arteries brings blood to the small intestine, it picks up the nutrients, and it's going to work its way up to the liver, and I don't think you can see it here. Okay,